All right. Hello. Welcome back to the Fuck Calories podcast. I'm Dr. Sarah, and this is Dr. Soleil. Today we're going to be talking about fashion and what it means to buy plus size clothing and how you navigate the world if you do live in a larger body. And then also, if you have been on a weight change journey, either smaller or larger, what that means to you and what that means to trying to purchase clothes to cover your body and to exist in the world and express yourself through fashion. So Dr. Soleil, tell me if you, what are your experiences with this?
Sure, absolutely. So I know that now that I have lost weight and I am considered straight size, which means I can typically walk into any store that sells clothing and find something that fits my body. That is a world of difference than where I was, let's say 12 months ago, right?
Yeah.
So living this experience has been very eye-opening to me as a person in a larger body for basically my entire life. It's always been a struggle to find something that fit my body and my body's proportions that I still felt really good in, that represented me, because I think fashion is also representative of your personality and like where you are and what you're trying other people to like learn about you as how you present yourself, right? So when I was younger, even, I remember being forced to dress almost business casual
Mm-hmm.
in middle school and high
Yeah.
school because as a larger person, they did not have, I could not go into, I don't know, limited two, right? Or wet seal or whatever the cool, I mean, this is before Forever 21 even came out, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
talking, I'm probably aging myself, but um
Yeah.
you could not go into those cool hip girl clothes and like find a going out top or like find my school clothes. And so the larger sizes for my age forced me to literally dress older than I was. And then
Yeah, and I even remember
yeah.
when they interviewed I don't know, some bigwig, some top guy at Abercrombie, and they were like, because they didn't go higher than I think a size 10 or something like that.
Mhm.
And they like were intentional about it. And they're like, we larger bodies do not belong in our store and do not belong in our clothes. Like I
Right.
remember when that happened, that scandal.
Yeah.
And there was like a little bit of uh like media flurry around it, but there was no outrage. I mean, everyone was just like, well, but maybe that's how it should be, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
It was
anyway.
really sad, I think, well, growing up in the age that we did, because it was everywhere, right? And you were force-fed this narrative that you had to be thin to be pretty, and you had to be thin and pretty to
Yeah.
be accepted.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, fast forward to 2024, luckily, we are having such a renaissance, I think, of body positivity and feeling good in your own skin and presenting and showing up as your authentic self, right?
Yeah.
But in the 90s and the early aughts, it was all about
Being paper
gosh, what do they
thin.
call it? Heroin chic, right? With
Yeah. Yeah.
with the Calvin Klein models and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
if you're over a size zero, you're really frowned upon. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I've
I was
never been a
born bigger
size
than that.
zero. Like exactly. I was like, I can't. When
Yeah.
was that? Was I maybe in
Yeah.
first grade? And like, did I miss my time? Did I miss my comp? Right? Because I was never in this body
Yeah.
that was accepted as to be, I guess, the standards, right?
Yeah.
So nowadays, I mean, you talk about Abercrombie having that issue. It has come out even recently, and we still have companies like that, like
Hmm.
Lululemon, right?
Yeah, oh, for
So
sure.
Lululemon is awful, and they continue to stand their ground, saying we
Yeah.
do not serve certain people, and
Yeah.
it is made that way on purpose, and we are purposefully excluding X, Y, and Z, right?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's totally you're right. If you are a
Yeah.
business and you are making clothes, however, we know that people in plus size bodies still have money to spend and are willing to spend if you
Yeah.
give us a place to spend it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as we're kind of aging and I'm trying to find things to wear to my interviews for med school, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Or where do
So
I
hard.
find things, right? That looks professional
Right.
but not old.
Right. Right.
You
Exactly.
had literally three places.
Right.
And one of those is Lane Bryant, right? So Lane Bryant was
Right.
really, I think, unfortunately,
one of the only places that you could get
Yeah,
clothes.
and they had larger sizes, and because it was not made for children, you were
Right.
forced to now wear, right, this older kind of
Right.
clothing, this other stuff. Now that's fine because luckily going into med school, you are expected to wear a fuddy-duddy
Conservative.
you
Yeah.
know, suit, and you're like
Right.
all, wear black and white and like don't
Right.
change it up and don't
Well,
show
and
your
let's be
personality.
honest, like because Lane Bryant was one of the only places, and I shopped there. Anyone who shops there know this. Fortunately, there's a little bit more variety now, but like Lane Bryant was really shittily made clothes. Like they
Mm,
were always getting like the hems were coming undone and stuff like that. Like they were not well made clothes. They were shitty made,
yep.
and they were so expensive.
Yes.
Like it was a very like high price point clothes that were not worth their quality.
Right.
Like,
Right.
and
Absolutely.
then exactly. And then like anytime you were like out with someone else who was plus size, like you're wearing the same wardrobe because you and that other person that's like, like you all
Yes.
have the same clothes because there's like only one or two stores to buy from. And you're right. And it was like a little bit, I mean, they have gotten better now, but they used to have kind of an older, like their target audience was a little bit older than we were. And
Mhm.
so like you kind of, yes, it was good for like med school interviews, but it was not like you couldn't like wear it out to dinner,
Right.
like it's like
Yeah.
not great clothing. So
Well, and you couldn't feel your best in it because you're trying
absolutely.
to present yourself as a young 20-something-year-old
Absolutely.
and you have nothing to show for it, right?
Absolutely.
So, I was reading this article kind of trying to figure out like why is the plus size fashion industry the way it is?
Mhm.
And they were talking about how they have certain, I guess, standard sizes and model sizes that will come in and they will fit the clothes to them. And then
Mhm.
they never had a plus size model. And so what they would do was
Mhm.
take that form from maybe a size 8 or 10 and then just add inches to it. Right.
Which
And
is
I'm like,
like not helpful
exactly. And so
because
then
my
that's
arms
like,
don't keep good getting
yes,
longer. Just
so then I'm like, oh, is this fitting? Right. And I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah,
okay, that's okay. I'll try that on. Right. And then the sleeves were like this long. My pants were
yeah,
too long. My thing. And I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know who's
yeah,
walking around here as a,
yeah,
20 something
yeah.
year old being 6'3" with like crazy long arms. That is my
Right,
size. But like,
right.
I'm not designed as a linebacker. Like that's not
Right.
me.
Right. Well,
Um,
and exactly going on that same thing. So even though I am a plus size body, I do, and praise to all of you women who do. I wish I could be you. But I know that a lot of you, you're going to be triggered by me saying that because you wish that it wasn't. But I do not have a very large chest. Like like even though I'm a large person, like I'm in anywhere between an A to a C cup, depending on what size I am. Even when I was at my largest, nearly 400 pounds, I was in a C cup. So I don't have enormous chest. And so many of the clothes from Lane Bryant they're like wraparound things because I guess they think that that looks the most flattering. And they're like crossover in the chest, and it like does not fit me, like, and like
mhm,
it's just like falling open.
right,
Um, and it's like, okay, I need something that's larger for my hips and my shoulders and my belly and everything, but like that doesn't mean that I have like 6 foot around chest. Like I need sizes that are like that fit every body.
right.
And they like, don't have them. They have like one style because it's like they just took this one size and like extrapolated it up.
Yes.
And it doesn't work for me.
Yep. You know
So,
what fashion style that reminds me of was the cold shoulder.
oh my God,
So
yes.
that was
Okay,
everywhere and I think still is.
yeah.
But I hate it. And the reason it was
Explain
talking,
why. Explain why it
yes.
was popular by the manufacturers.
Yeah, so they were talking in this article was instead of they were finding people complaining, right? That as they added inches just to all of the inseams, that things
Mhm.
weren't fitting. And so then
Yeah.
people go, well, I know, let's just chop off the shoulders and then it will fit more people.
And then it doesn't matter.
And I was like, I'm sorry, what? I
So you
was
get
like,
all
you
these
just,
winter clothes that have like
yeah.
cutouts at the shoulders.
So I've never seen more shoulderless sweaters in my life. And I was like, that is an oxymoron. Like, why?
Yeah.
Like, I'm
Yeah.
either cold and I want my
Yeah.
shoulders covered, or I'm
Yeah.
not, and
Because
I'm
they
not
just
wearing a
assume that
sweater.
someone else is going to buy, like someone else is going to make them a coat that will fit, so they don't have to just bother to try to to fit their
Right,
customers.
right. So, oh my gosh, that cold shoulder thing, it still gets
Oh,
me when I
yeah.
see them. And I'm like, why is this?
So for
Why
all you
haven't we
listeners who didn't
graduated?
know that that's the reason why, like that is how they
Yes.
came to be, is that the clothes manufacturers didn't want to deal with like having to proportion to try to fit their customers. They just like wanted to do away with it and didn't have to want to
Right.
deal with it. Just
Well,
so
instead
shitty.
of hiring one more model, two more models, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
saying, oh, this is our size
yeah,
18, this is our
yeah.
size 24, this is our size,
Right,
you know what I mean? And then you can
right,
again style from there because they're not hiring models in all of the
right,
sizes. They add a
right,
handful,
right,
add two
right,
more, right? If you're
right,
going to have a line and you're
right,
going to advertise and you're going to say, look at us, we now
right,
carry plus size, you
right.
need to like actually back that up
Actually,
with some
yeah,
fashion and not
yeah,
just,
yeah.
cold shoulder
Yeah,
shit because that's
yeah,
embarrassing for both
yeah,
you and me.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay,
So
so let's talk about even a store like Macy's who had a plus size line. So I remember, so we're talking about like med school interviews. I remember getting trying to get some of my suits at Macy's, and they went up to I think size either 24 or 28. And so they would advertise that they had a plus size line, but their quote, the largest plus size that they have, like was not even, I mean, it was not plus size.
yeah,
Like, like they would advertise and wanted to get credit for having a plus size line. And it was so non-inclusive that even like, like you still couldn't be served by them. And I just like, it would be so shitty to like not have any options and not have clothes that you can wear.
right.
And just like there aren't options.
Yeah,
And that's incredibly frustrating.
yeah, absolutely. Well, and especially if you look at how, I mean, I could go into how damaging the fashion industry is, right? With size
Oh,
and
totally.
BMIs and models and stuff. But like a sample size is 00 or a 0. And that's the model size. And if like
Yeah.
you're above that, you're starting into getting into larger or what they call like medium sized bodies, even if
Right.
you're a size 2 or 4.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, let's talk about
What?
that for a second, right?
Yeah.
And so then a straight size, if you're talking fashion, I'm pretty sure ends at 8 or 10. Then
Yeah.
you're talking plus size starts at
Yeah.
12.
Which
Now
is
you're
bananas.
right, absolutely. Because you look at the most recent, I think average women's sizes is 16, 18, right?
Exactly.
And that's already plus something. And then again,
Way,
people are
way deep
not
into the plus size.
exactly, and people are not even carrying that. And
Right.
then there are women that are right, not even they're they're like, I'm still above that. Where do
Yeah.
I go? Where do I
Yeah.
search for stuff?
Yeah. And that
Um,
has been me the majority of my life and is still me in certain brands.
yes. So it's really hard because then you are forced to go to a handful of plus size specialist lines, right?
Yep.
Now, what's really interesting is that there is a price difference between
Absolutely.
plus size and straight size clothes, even if they're the exact same thing.
You absolutely. And so like I know that people who are thin will be like, "Oh, but it's more material." The difference in the price is not accounted for by the difference in the like raw
Right.
materials.
Yep. Because the material,
Like
okay, so add a dollar.
exorbitantly. Exactly.
Because if I'm running a fashion brand, right,
Right.
the amount of bulk fabric I'm getting.
Yeah.
Yes, if and I need like half a yard or something like that extra, we're
Right.
talking pennies, right?
Right. Exactly.
Which okay, so I give off to the consumer and then it raises the whole price by 50 cents. You're welcome.
Right. Right.
Like
Not $30.
exactly. I was like, and now we're actually talking like doubling the price. You
Right.
magically go from a size 14 to a size
Right.
24 and it is twice the price.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm like, where is this better
Yeah.
quality? Oh, is this
Right.
lined? No, it's not
Oh, but
lined.
it's not.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, is this spun wool? No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's
No.
100% acrylic. I'm like, I'm sorry. What? How? And I
Yeah.
think it's because we're a tracked audience in a way,
Yeah.
right? Is that you, or maybe they might be figuring this out, and I might be putting more, I don't know. On one hand, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. Otherwise, I feel like they're all evil and out to get us. But
They
um,
are.
right? And I'm like, this, I think they do see us like
Yeah.
trapped and like we're stuck in a corner and we have nowhere to go and like we will pay whatever
Yeah.
if I can
Because we
buy
don't
a
have a
new
choice.
shirt. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So nowadays, I think there are more independent fashion brands coming out that are more like true plus size. And I've seen
Mhm.
them on TikTok, and I've seen them on
Yeah.
Instagram, and I've seen them, and that is fabulous.
Which is awesome.
Yes.
I mean, you and I have even talked about like there's a I can't remember the name of it, which is really bad. I should be promoting them. But like even when you and I were like looking into hiking clothes, as you
Mhm.
know, most people who are involved in athletic endeavors tend to be smaller, but not all, because I feel like there's a lot of us who are like super
Right.
badass athletic people, even though we don't have teeny tiny bodies. So there was this like hiking uh it was a woman-owned business who specialized in plus size hiking gear, and then which I was really excited about because that's what I'm interested in, and it is hard to find hiking clothes that are plus size. And
Mhm.
then I go to her website and it was like $400. I mean, it wasn't that expensive, but it was like insanely expensive for like
Yeah.
a pair of hiking pants. Like that
Yep.
is bananas. Like, no,
Yep.
and it's like hard to be excited about it when, and I understand that, she's like a small local business trying to get it off the ground, things like that. But like that's not sustainable for someone who's
Right.
a normal person trying to buy hiking pants.
Right. Exactly. When someone else can go and buy hiking pants for $15,
$10.
$20, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
On Amazon or, anywhere.
yeah.
So, well, and
And
even
that's
like, so this is maybe a good time to talk about it. Like, even so Osprey and Gregory have recently come out with like plus size backpacks, which are
mhm,
awesome.
mhm,
But and so like for example, Osprey has, and maybe they're going to come out with more, but basically they came out with a 65-liter backpack, which is like the great big overnight backpacks for people who don't hike and don't know what that frame of reference is. Or they have like a little bitty day pack. They don't have like anything in between.
mhm.
And
Yeah.
so like when you and I were preparing for Killy, I mean, I was a little bit stuck. So I ended up buying like a pack and having like a belt, like a waist belt made. Like I made it myself, like made for me, that would
Mhm.
be large enough. And so like I know that they're trying, but they still miss so much.
Yeah. I feel like, yeah, if we take a step back, there have been some improvements, but it's also sad to think about the where we're at in 2024,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And I'm
Because this
like,
is not a
come
new
on.
phenomenon.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Why is
And
this lagging behind so slowly?
yep, yeah. And if we're talking about, yeah, inclusivity, it should include everyone and everything for your thing.
Yeah.
Now, again, I know every brand can't do that, but the fact that it is still so difficult to find
Yeah.
something that I want to wear, that
Yeah.
I feel comfortable in, that I
Right.
can easily afford, and I can feel
Right.
comfortable advertising for them, or like
Right.
telling people also, hey, go
Where I
check
got
them
it.
out. I loved
Right.
it. They didn't have
Right.
any cold shoulder sweaters, you know what I mean?
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah, the fact that that's still difficult or is not as easy to do is hard. I did not, I think the other difficulty too is, as I have yo-yoed basically my entire life, is I have a very interesting habit. I won't call it good or bad. I keep all my clothes,
Oh, same.
right?
My closet is outrageous.
Yep.
In fact, there was a point where like the last time I moved, I had it organized. And so I had like sections on my closet. This is my size 12 clothes, my size 14 clothes, my size
Yep.
16, 18, 20, 24. Like I
Yep.
had like these regions in my closet, and I have to have like huge closet space because I won't get rid of them because anyway, that's a whole nother
Yeah.
story.
Well, because
I'm not
I've
a
gone
hoarder,
through
except it
them.
looks like it in my closet.
Yes. And then
Yeah.
people come and they're like, how do you have so many clothes? And I'm like,
Yeah.
I
I have
actually
one for
have
every
those clothes.
size.
Yes.
Yeah.
I said, but I cannot wear all of those clothes that I
Right.
actually have
Right.
all the time, which is why I
Right.
have them, because I
Right.
have ranged in so many sizes, and like,
Right.
who can afford to buy a whole new wardrobe every single
Exactly.
size?
That's
So
what I
I
was just about to
just keep
say.
them,
And
right?
you know how expensive it is. So if I get rid of these and then I end up back in that size, like whether it's smaller or larger, like it
Yep.
is so expensive to buy new clothes and to like
Yes.
essentially get a new wardrobe. So I just keep my wardrobe that's for every single size.
Yep. And
Mm.
especially more expensive the larger you are, as we've already talked
Absolutely.
about, right? Because they see us
Yes.
coming.
Yes.
I will not wear sweaters with no shoulders. So I'm
Yeah.
like, no, there is a full, I demand a full
Exactly.
sweater.
Exactly.
People die on that shoulderless hill. I cannot stand them.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
my goodness.
but yeah, I think that's hard because you also, I think presentation is another bit, right? Like trying to present yourself in a certain way,
Who
whether
you are,
that's
right?
professional, right? Because we're physicians, and when you walk in the door somewhere or you
And a
go to a
certain,
patient, right?
right?
Expectations of what am I
Exactly.
wearing? What do I look like?
Right.
Because I don't wear a white coat, and so therefore I also have to look the part, and I also don't wear like a stethoscope. You know what I mean? So
Right.
like,
Right.
luckily I'm in private practice, so it's just me. So like you came to see me,
Yeah.
like that's it.
Yeah. They're
You
gonna
get
see
nobody
me.
else. But when I worked in a hospital, that was totally different, right? And
Right.
so I noticed a lot how I looked compared to other physicians and like, oh my gosh, do I wear my white coat? Everyone else is wearing theirs. And like, and then you get tired of patients complaining of not seeing their physician. I'm like, I've seen you 3 times today.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
like, oh, I thought you were the
Yeah.
nurse.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
time
This
I
actually,
introduce
this,
myself and I'm like,
this actually happened to me recently. I had on, let's see, of course I had on my badge. I was wearing the hospital scrubs, which we look the same as like the nurses and the doctors all wear the same scrubs. And I saw a patient and I went and talked to her. And then we got her labs and stuff like that. And then I said she could go, had talked to her. She then, when the nurse went to bring her discharge paperwork, she said she like complained that she hadn't seen the doctor yet. And so they called me and I was like, I definitely like I don't know like what the disconnect was. So I go and talk to her again. And then the nurse like brings her discharge paperwork. She's like, but we still haven't seen the doctor. And so finally they were like, like you need to leave. So
mm-hmm.
I ended up riding down the elevator just by pure fluke. I rode down the elevator with them. And I heard them talking about me. Well, they didn't know it was me. They were like, the doctor, I can't believe the doctor like didn't even come see us, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, hi, I'm your doctor. And she was like, like I was, like it's just, anyway, I don't know why I'm telling all this, but
I'm so glad you got that chance though, because
I
so many
know,
of us don't.
I
We just
know.
hear about the complaints, and I was like, I was there 3 times.
Yeah.
Like,
I saw you twice. Like
yeah.
you complained about me, so I went and saw you again. I introduced myself as Dr. Tilford twice,
Mm-hmm.
and you still like it didn't register. Like, I don't know what you want me to do. Be like,
Yep.
hello.
Yep. And
So
that probably goes into the whole sexism in medicine too, which is a
yeah,
whole new
yeah,
episode.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it is really frustrating. And especially, I mean, I think it does circle around to how are we presenting ourselves and how are others,
I don't look like the
yeah,
doctor.
like getting or becoming aware of us and in the
Right,
world, right?
right.
So
And even though I'm not stick thin, even though I'm not an old man with white hair, I am the doctor.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm the only one seeing you today, so if you don't like me, I don't know what to tell you.
Go somewhere else, I guess.
Yeah. So, but yeah, any I guess, do you foresee any changes in fashion right now? Like, have you noticed anything changing, or have you?
I think it is becoming more inclusive.
Mhm.
I think the waves of change are very slow.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I don't know, because I've heard, I think you and I have talked about this. I think there's an argument for if these GLP-1s and weight loss medications change our population, which I think is a good thing, is that going to backpedal the inclusivity that is offered in society? And I think that's a really
Oh.
valid point and something that I don't really have any answers for, but I think it's an interesting topic, like, and I've heard people say like with, it's funny because I just took this new job in Sacramento that I've been flying up to, like, so I fly in and fly out. And I am shocked how many people, like basically all of the nursing staff have lost weight.
Mhm.
Because Sacramento, even though it's in California, people in Southern California that live in the coastal areas are all very straight sized.
Mhm.
And then it's kind of a phenomenon that places outside of coastal California are more like middle America and they're a little bit larger.
Mhm.
And, I mean, you and I know this is true, like from practicing inside Texas and outside Texas. Texas, the people tend to be less straight size. And in Sacramento, it's a little bit of that phenomenon, but everyone has been on GLP-1s and or had weight loss surgery. And literally every single nurse that I have worked with has had like post weight loss skin surgery.
Oh, okay.
And so like all of them have been through it. And I
Mhm.
just think that it's really weird because their entire nursing staff that I work with are all straight sized currently. And it just is interesting about like what size scrubs are available because we have to wear hospital scrubs and what size scrubs are available on our unit.
Mhm.
So I think it makes a really good point as far as, is inclusivity going to regress in the future
Mm.
as weight loss options become more prevalent and more accepted and more successful?
Interesting. So because there's an option for people
Mhm.
to lose weight, is there a possibility that people will become less receptive or less okay, I guess, with people being larger if they choose not to go down that route, right? Because not everyone wants to lose weight. Not everyone is
Exactly.
trying to lose weight. And so
Exactly.
that's very interesting. So then will they be judged more because they've
They're
now.
not choosing to jump
Yeah.
on this bandwagon. I think it's a possibility.
Wow, that gives me a whole thing, something to think about. I was like, I don't think I've been thinking about that.
Yeah.
But you can see how it could get there, right? Because so many people are they blame people, right, for whatever they do or don't do, right? It's your fault, take personal responsibility, whatever, right? Whatever they're saying.
Right.
And so then when I was bigger, it was my fault. And if I'm
Right.
smaller, but my next door neighbor is no longer smaller, and like she decided to stay the same, that's her fault because she didn't follow, you know what I mean? And so that's,
Yeah, it's so shitty. Yeah.
I hope we continue with um yeah, body positivity and the fact that you can still be healthy.
Mhm.
And that being healthy does not necessarily mean you have to be a size two, right? And
Absolutely.
that goes back to the fact that we are larger bodies, but we're hiking and we're running
Yeah.
and we're
Yeah.
right. We're doing all the things
Yeah.
they tell us, oh, you couldn't possibly do because you're in a
Yeah.
larger body. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Watch me do it in a larger body. And then we do.
Absolutely. Well, and I don't think you and I have talked about it on the podcast yet, but you and I have definitely talked about it offline, that there's this whole obesity paradox where this isn't true for everybody, but this is definitely physiologically true for some, is that when our body is fuel partitioning, and what that means is that when you take in calories, what your body does with that energy. Um, for people, there are some people that if there is excess energy, their body preferentially stores it and doesn't use it. So even if you are not eating more calories than someone else, but if your body is choosing to store them instead of choosing to utilize them, you may be like colder than everybody else.
Mm.
Even if your thyroid is totally normal, your body may not use them. Instead, it chooses to store it. And so for those people, they are less prone to diabetes, but they are more prone to increasing their adipose tissue. And that creates what's called the obesity paradox. If they are metabolically healthy,
Yeah.
even though they have a larger body. And so absolutely. You and I are physicians. You can absolutely be healthy and metabolically healthy in a larger body. That doesn't mean that everybody is. That doesn't mean that everybody that's skinny is not. It just means that it's absolutely possible. And we shouldn't be judging a book by its cover.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Oh, so much to think about, but let's end it there because I am going to start thinking about all those things you were telling me. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, what is the
Maybe we
future?
should pick it up and have a further conversation next week.
So, excellent, excellent. Well, thanks y'all for coming along the ride with us, and definitely leave us notes and comments and I guess suggestions, but we'd love to hear about what you think about fashion and clothes sizing and size inclusivity. There we go. And then maybe if you have any ideas of what we should be talking about in the future, just drop those down below as well. But otherwise, we'll see you later.